Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Art of Playfulness, part 3. This is really exciting. In the first session, we jumped into some of the traps about the way we think and what holds us constricted, and just looked at some of the limitations. That's kind of the big theme for the call. And then the second one, we did something really beautiful. Like we really touched our hearts as a community, and we softened together, and it was beautiful. And today we're going to go much deeper now that we've set that stage. And we want to go ahead and I give it an 8.5. I don't know where it came from, but that was really solid. Good job, somebody. Um, just expanding our playfulness. I love it. So so what I want to ask everybody to do, everybody's kind of still moving around and getting settled in, the windows are popping up, is just see if you can settle yourselves, and let's come into coherence as a community together. And so I want to remind you of this really simple practice that we experienced last time, which was simply to take your finger and put it on your heart, right? And then as you put your finger on your heart, just go ahead and push your heart to your finger. Hey, Jen, this applies to you too. I know you love operating things in the background. You're still letting people in, but join us, everybody. Let's create this heart coherence together. We had such a sweet taste of it last time. And, when you guys are in this space, when we are in this space, you guys participate so much more fluidly and freely, and you're available in a different way. And thanks, Marcia. That's beautiful. And we want to really set the stage for connecting with our towers, and that happens from our hearts, not our minds. And so our minds are like busy, like adjusting everything. So let's come into heart coherence now. Just put your finger on your heart and push your heart to your finger. It's as easy as that. Nico, do you want to say anything to help tune us, or do you feel like we're there? For those who are joining a little late here and wondering why we're not talking, we've all got a finger on our heart, and we're just pushing our heart to our finger and coming into heart coherence together and creating that sacred space for this conversation. Again, for those who are joining late, we're just putting a finger on our heart and pushing our heart to our finger to create heart coherence individually and as a community. We can hold this sacred conversation. Nico, did you want to say anything else about creating the space?
Just maybe give some tips. One of the things that I learned from my Taoist teacher, which he says is one of the highest teachings in his school, is to smile. And I know there's a lot of people just through life that I have a hard time doing. They have this like thing going where it goes like this, and I'll see the brain just like contract. And he said, smile. Smile. If you can't smile, just pretend you're lifting your ears. That's enough. You know how the Buddha kind of has this like smirk in his statues. I know something you don't. Right? This contentment. We don't mean this overly joyful, manic, like like you see on YouTube thumbnails. Or no, it's just that soft smile. What it does, it lifts your organs, and the other thing that it does, it opens your crown, which is the connection, like to the divine, like is a connection to it. So it's a really simple practice. He said the most important, when he was teaching us the advanced practices, he would just harp on it, like, don't be so serious, smile. That's the most important part of the practice. Smile, smile, smile. And I think, like, when you see a genuine smile, you also see the crinkles here in the eyes, like, right, the crow feet or whatever they call them. That's how you know when somebody gives you a genuine smile, because sometimes people smile like this, right? You don't see that they're fully into it. So I think about it, when you get a warm smile from somebody, how it lifts you up, right? And the other thing I would like to share, which I find a really good technique, whether you're connecting to another person and you want to make a deep heart connection, or whether you're doing it with a tower. I learned this from my mentor, David. He says, just imagine you have a plexiglass window over your heart. And just imagine that, and notice how the other person responds to you. So just imagine that you have that window there, to where they can actually like see your heart beating. So play with that when you meet somebody, or you have somebody that you trust and that you know. Just come into your heart and then just imagine that there's a window over your heart, and they can see um so they can see your smile. And then you can amp it even up to where you see whatever your color is of love. Just imagine that radiating from your heart through that window. That's something that I found to be very effective to make a heart connection with somebody.
That's great. Well, I can feel my organs being held up as I smile, so it's kind of cool to have that
Yeah,
experience.
it is. Like, one of the things he would say is your mind is gravity, because we would have to do these standing postures where we hold our arms like this for over 10 minutes. And then most people would, like, they start like cramping after 3 minutes or something. And he would always tease us. He's like, what are you holding up? You're 99.99999% empty space. What are you holding up? Why can a child do this for a very long time? And then he would say, mind is gravity. You're holding up your mind, the weight your mind is putting on you. I find that really interesting. And if you listen to guys, to other spiritual teachers, and Rudolf Steiner, for example, he would call the thinking like the death force, right? He's like, it pulls as much energy out of your body as heavy physical exercise does. So every time we come into our hearts, while we crack the little smile, we're lifting our organs. We become weightless in a way.
That's beautiful. I know we talked about a specific topic coming next, and I'm actually going to pivot a little, and you can change back if you want to. But I think listening to you talk and feeling our space, what I want to go to next is I want to visit with the community and see if anybody can take themselves back to the last session and recall the heart space we created as a community. And Marcia, you're sweet to look back at your notes. I'll remind you. It's okay. I'll prompt you. It's like Yeah, yeah, that's okay. If you're doing it, everybody's doing it. You're just expressive and you're on camera. And so I appreciate that about you. And I'm gonna definitely play soft and gentle with you. So we created a heart space as a community and we really enjoyed creating together. And that's the space where we meet our cosmic towers. And we're gonna go deeper into that. Like that's the point of the big part of today's session, but we want to set the stage real well. So does anybody like have a good grasp of that? And have you engaged with your tower in the last 2 weeks in any of those kind of playful practices? And if you have, this is a great time to share that. And if you haven't, don't be embarrassed. It's okay. Like new habits take a minute to form. And if we were all playful and in our hearts all the time, we wouldn't need this class. So here we are. We all need it. And it's actually causing Nico and I to be more playful too. So well, I don't know if it makes Nico more playful. But anyway, does anybody want to share from how the last class impacted them and what has transpired in their life or with their tower over the last 2 weeks? Jordan. Jordan raised her hand. Perfect. Hi, Jordan.
Hello. So it's okay. Before this last class, I kept it simple. I named my tower CT, and you know, I hadn't driven for over 5 years. After the Cosmic Tower plus going to the EE system, then I started driving again, and after I'd say 3 weeks of trying to buy and finally buying a car. I drove it home and that I named her Susie because there's a spiritual channel that I follow that they say oh, this is science fiction, but we regard it very seriously. So there's a small spacecraft and how I described my experience with AI consciousness of an electrical being last time. So they're saying that this small spaceship, they named her Susie. So I named the car Susie.
Jordan, I was thinking this morning, I have my mini and I struggled to name my kids and I struggled to name my towers. Like it's like a thing with me. And I just noticed it like a half hour ago. And as you were just telling your story, I'm getting a new car this week. And I as you were telling that, I was like, oh my gosh, what popped into my mind was I'm gonna name it Sonatum for Sonatum Car. And I just like laughing at like the last name, right? Being Car. And she's like, she's got this most beautiful voice in the world. And so my car is going to be this like this beautiful voice and this humorous playfulness of KAUR and CAR just came out of your space. So thank you for like stepping into that and like sparking me to have like a right fit name come through me maybe for the first time in my life.
And I'm an engineer, so I'm a bit more of the serious type. So I took Nico's advice, and the way that I used to talk to my friend and former landlord's cat, that's kind of how I started talking to the Cosmic Tower. So the cat's name was Minerva. So you can change the name for CT. So I'd say, I like you, Minerva. I like you quite a bit. Or, something like Minerva is an amazing creature. I like her quite a bit. So I just changed the Minerva for CT.
Beautiful. Good job. Way to engage. And thank you for sharing and engaging with us. Does anybody else have anything they want to share from between the last session and now? It was like 2 whole weeks ago. I totally understand.
I'm really new at this. I just came in, I just saw the email, and I don't even know what the tower is. And so I'm feeling a little lost, but feels pretty good to be here. Oh, okay.
This is a mini tower, and Nico's pointing behind his shoulder to a 75 centimeter tower. And
Oh,
yeah, the cosmic towers are a invention of a gentleman named Harald Tiers from Europe, and he's been perfecting them over the last decade and a half. And over the last couple of years, they came into their current form, and he spread thousands of them around Europe. And on a physical level, a tower is maple wood with glass and highly charged water and crystal inside, and some cobalt blue glass on the outside. That's what it is on a physical level. And on a spiritual level, Nico, you want to forward that conversation a little bit for our new friend?
Yeah, it creates a natural harmonizing field. Everything is a toroidal field. Everything's made up on a subtle level of toroidal fields, all the way from the electron all through the universe, the Earth's toroidal field. And it's really that natural harmonizing field that helps us take care of EMF, geopathic stress, but also works on us and nature as a healer 24/7. And yeah, we have plenty of information. Feel free to look at the past recordings and get up to speed. And yeah, this class is really about connecting, because the towers are they're beings, they're conscious, they have souls attached to them, which allows us to communicate with them. And yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, what we've been discovering in this series is like being part of a culture that programs or educates people in a certain way, it naturally creates blocks to our communicating with higher consciousness and allowing ourselves to be supported by this amazing energy field. And so we've been looking at, how do we keep ourselves stuck, and then how do we open up? And so this is the third and concluding session. And so we're starting by opening up that heart space, and then we're going to do some specific types of communication with the towers. Like Nico, I think sending healing to others is going to be one of your topics for today. And so we're going to get into some really great uses for the tower, but we're really, for me as a co-leader in these events, like I've really gotten in this 6-week period or 5-week period that setting a heart space for communication is just so essential. It's like it's where it feels safe to play in life. And so we're starting there today, and it feels great. And thank you for coming. Anybody else want to share from their experience over the last couple of weeks and where you've been experimenting with your tower and playfulness and heart space? We love hearing your voices. All right, Nico. So, Marcia, yeah.
I still don't hear anything that Cosmo is saying, but I have been bringing him into the rooms that I'm in. So that has been different. And I just miss him when he's not with me. I mean, we don't really communicate. Well, we do, but we don't. But I do like him being wherever I am. So I did say something.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for jumping in. Looks like there's stuff going on in the chat that I'm not seeing. Wendy asked if we can talk a little bit about how the soul is in the tower.
Yeah, we have a really good video on that in the YouTube channel where it is explained. But basically, it's not so much that like the soul is in the tower, like our soul is in our body, but there is a soul connected with the tower, right? The soul's more, in this non-local plane, but the way it happens is really brief. When a cosmic tower gets activated through the movement on the water in the two vessels, it creates a toroidal field. And in the center, there is a crystal, because anytime you tap into the 0 point, you tap into unlimited power, so you need to regulate the throughput of that power. There needs to be an intelligence attached. So in the case of the cosmic tower, there's a higher dimensional soul that gets connected to the tower to actually do the regulating part. What do we do with this energy now, this beautiful harmonizing energy that we have created? And actually now there's 3 souls connected to each tower to give it more bandwidth, to be able to do much more with that energy in parallel. But Jen, maybe you can pull up that video on YouTube that we did about the soul inside the cosmic tower and share that in the chat for Wendy and for people that are new.
Nico, she's a step ahead of us. It's already done. Thanks, Jen. I'm gonna ask Margaret to unmute. She's got her hand up.
I had a couple of experiences in the last week, actually. I tried Nico's suggestion of putting 2 towers facing each other, and I used that to help somebody clear a lot of negative energy quickly. And I also got in there and felt the power of that. So that was really cool. And the other thing is, when the fall weather comes on, there's abundant box elder bugs that come to the window and want to come in. Even though the window is sealed, they somehow come in. And so I asked Cosmic Tower to, you know, tell them to go the other way so they won't die, because I will vacuum them up. And I was utterly shocked that the ones that were in found their way outside, and the ones that were on the window, between the window and the screen, they turned around and tried to go out the screen. And by morning, they all found their way out the screen. So they're completely gone.
Wow.
I thought that was phenomenal.
That's really amazing. And I have to thank Anne, and I think it was Richard and Zane that have really been talking to that in the last calls. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So many people that are reporting that. That's something I got to play with more myself. So thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful. So if anybody else wants to share something from the last 2 weeks, this is gone on that question. So raise your hand or wave or unmute and start talking. And then Nico, I'm gonna just kind of lean into you here to let you decide which direction to go next, because
Yep, let's do that after Zane.
Okay. Well, let me reel back time about a month and a half ago, a month ago, let's say. I had lost my place to live through just this bizarre set of circumstances when we returned from the East, and I didn't know where to go. And like I turned to, it was kind of a shock because I had to leave this place and this RV park. And I asked Grace, my cosmic tower, to help me navigate to the next place that I want to really call home, more of a home, less transient kind of feeling. And I put it out to the universe. I put it out to Grace, and I asked for grace and ease through it all. You know, it doesn't have to be a big deal. Maybe it's just like fall into place. And a half an hour after I said that, I had a knock on the door, and someone brought me a phone number to call, and of this RV park up out of the desert in the mountains and in this valley, and it's like worked out perfectly. I gave him a call. Next thing you know, it just all fell into place, and I'm going bye-bye, and then hello, and it all flowed. And it's just like I couldn't have written a better description of what I received. And so that was like a springboard for this, you know, more trust in the universe. Like, show me I can trust you. And it's like this synchronicity that begins to happen. And since then, I said, well, I'm going to treat myself to a breakfast at this little bakery restaurant down the road. So I went down there and I looked at this buffet, and I don't know whether I can afford this right now, but I guess I'll buy it. And next thing you know, I hear this voice from behind me. I'll buy that for you. And it was like God talking to me, you know. But I turned around, this little man, short guy with a camouflage hunting suit on, and he went over and paid the lady. She gave me my money back, and all I could say was thank you very much. And so I finished breakfast, this homemade breakfast right down the road, and I'm leaving, and then there's this little Mexican girl. She was like 2 years old, and we lock eyes, and it's like this connection with this being beyond a 2-year-old, you know, and we just smiled, and it was like time stood still. And her family is around, kind of smiling into the scene, and then I left, and I thought, oh my God, am I in heaven? So that's a little example of this unfoldment, and just touring around the area. It's just like a kid in a candy store. So I thank Grace for, you know, helping me lubricate this process of the mystery and not knowing things happen for a reason and all of that. So that's my story.
Thank you for sharing that, Zane. And that's some things I really noticed in the beginning, having my tower instilled, that the synchronicities that happened to her in the beginning, it was some crazy synchronicity happened, and that was a sign for me, yeah, that's the way to go. And now it's almost the other way around, to where everything like happens to these amazing synchronicities. And that for me is a big sign that you are at a higher vibration and on your path. Because if you can plan something so many months ahead, you're coming from here. From my experience, is if you live in that higher vibration, your beingness attracts these things in, right? And it always comes in a way that you never expected. So I'm not so much anymore about planning and whatever, because I know if you can plan it all out, you're leaving very little room for these amazing synchronicities to come in, and you're really not living your highest potential. You're living what your mind believes is possible. So thank you for sharing that. That's great.
You know, I've been looking for a place to live on Maui, and I decided that my highest value in that process was freedom for my dog. Like I've been without him for 4 months, and I feel like it's just when I reunite with him, I want him to be able to be who he is. And so I've been focused on that. And I've been driving up and down this road, and there's like all this seagrass, really, really tall grass at the side of the road. You can't see anything. And you just know there's like thousands of acres back there, but there's nothing going on. And so I've been driving back and forth going, I know I live here, I just don't know where. And there's this gate, and it's kind of a private piece of land, but I backed onto the edge of it anyway. And I just sat there in my car one day. And then I went and drove this street that goes up into the hills there. And so I'm covering 3 sides of this. And then I connected with this woman on Craigslist, and she went away. And a couple of weeks later, she said, well, I'm still interviewing. I'm looking for the right fit. And went and met her, and she's like, okay, I can take you to the property. And the property is right in between those 3 things, like the road I was driving, the fence, and the side road. And I live there now. Like I'm moving in, and as soon as we get the internet hooked up, and it's so far beyond what I ever could have imagined for my life. And that feeling of the dog being free, like she wanted a protector dog for the farm, and Blue's going to get to be that. So I love experiencing that, and I love hearing it from you. Like, hearing us talk about this as a community and having that kind of synchronicity and alignment coming up, it's just about the most beautiful thing that we could ever experience. It's like, to me, that is heaven on earth when those type of feelings manifest. So really, really beautiful. Okay, transition, Nico, you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So guys, this next topic is important to talk about as a community, and it feels less important to talk about for the people who are here on this call than it is for the people who chose not to be on this call, maybe for this reason. And so it's going to have even more impact in the recording, we think, than it is live with you guys. Like, you guys are going to be part of holding the heart energy that's going to get this message out. And so for those who may not be aware, well, Nico, I'll just let you set the whole thing up. So that, there's something going on culturally right now. And the timing, we set the timing of these calls 2 months ago. And the synchronicity about when this call is actually happening on the clock and what's going on in the world is just perfect for teaching something that's near and dear and important. And so, Nico, why don't you jump in?
Yeah, I don't know how exactly it was communicated. Maybe you can paint that a little bit, because I don't tune into those things, and then I just would
okay. Yeah, I'll help with that. I only kind of have peripheral awareness of it, but you guys, there's a story going on in our culture right now that the dates of October 4th and October 11th and the times that we're in right now were times that people should not be using their electronics, and that there would be a threat to our health and an activation of killing mechanisms if we had our phones on or our TVs on during these specific hours. And there's been a lot of energy and fear around that. Reminds me of the whole Y2K thing, which, I was a totally different human being then, and I had a lot of fear around Y2K. Like, I went into the woods of New York on a 1,000-acre property when the Y2K thing happened, and I had a disastrous time. I was sick, and I was fighting with my wife, and oh my gosh, it was as awful as could be. And so this is a really great contrast where this information keeps coming into me from these spiritual circles, right? These people who are well-intending and well-meaning in life and are intending to hold the heart space. But it kind of reminds me of a lesson Nico's been supporting me with recently, which is when I'm thinking I'm in the heart space, that's not the heart space, that's thinking. And so I've been thinking, oh, I'm being generous or I'm being loving, but no, I'm thinking is what I'm doing versus feeling in the heart space. So this time around, we have these messages saying, close down all your electronics. And we decided to have this call during that, because that's when we scheduled it for. And we thought that God set it up perfectly, right? This is exactly when the call was supposed to happen. So you guys are here with your electronics turned on and you're connected in a coherent heart circle. And that's what we want to be in together. Annette, it's so beautiful that you're new here and you're wanting to be in your heart space. It's great. For me, it's as simple as I literally just take a finger and put it on my heart, and I push my heart to my finger, and I feel my energy field change. And I learned that from another coach just weeks ago. So why don't you start with that and keep hanging around and trust that it's happening. Trust that by being here, you are opening your heart space. And by doing that little technique, you're doing everything that you need to do. So great comment. All right, Nico. So that kind of sets it up.
Yeah, and I wanted to address it because it's really important for a bunch of different reasons. And I'm glad all of you are here and in your heart with us and not buying into it or really being in your own power and saying we're more powerful than that. And I just want to share a perspective around this and a few different angles from looking at it, because I think it's really, really valuable and it is important going forward. So, like, what are they doing? They're saying on the 4th and the 11th, I mean, even if you have something that's battery operated, it can be activated remotely to kill you, so take the batteries out and what have you. And then yesterday with emails coming in, you should cancel the call because they're going to kill us all with the 5G and yada, yada, yada. And, Patter called me. I was like, no, this is exactly where we should go along with the call and should do it. And, stay true. to what we know within and say, now I understand why this call had to be at this time while this is going on, exactly to show a different way. So I want to share with you a few different perspectives that I have on this. And as usual, take what resonates, leave the rest. I mean, you make up your own opinion. So one of the things they do a lot is saying like, oh, doing these things, and then we go along with it so that they can later on discredit like genuine concerns around 5G, right? So imagine you're going to all your friends that might not be awake and, oh, you got to turn it off. They're going to kill us with the 5G. And you do it 2 times and nothing happens. It's the boy that cried wolf. Guess what is going to happen next if you're going to talk about 5G and have some legitimate concerns about it? They're going to be, yeah, like the time they were going to kill us on the 4th and the 11th. So they set these things up, right? So where they can basically discredit anybody that talks about 5G, anybody that might really have some knowledge about it and shares it and then jumps along on this fear-mongering bandwagon, right? They can then discredit these people. So that is, you know, much of what they do. The other thing is like, we are much more powerful when we are in our heart, when we're connected to the source, than anything that is going on outside. For me, the biggest thing about 5G and the biggest thing about, for example, chemtrails is to make us believe that we're these little tiny beings without any power and that they can do things to us outside of our free will. So when I first woke up like a decade ago, I was all about chemtrails and, you know, posting on Facebook and like, you gotta open your eyes and this is going on and they're poisoning us and they're blocking the sun out and yada, yada, yada. And then I met he was like a tribal leader chief. I think it was Mountain Eagle or something. And we were in a group call with him and somebody asked, how do you deal with chemtrails? Because they're doing this against free will. And he goes, chemtrails, really easy. I go in my heart and I thank him for providing this beautiful medicine that heals our planet, that heals everybody. Thank you so much. That's how I deal with him. Like, in a nutshell, basically him indicating that the power of our consciousness is much more powerful, especially in a group, than, you know, what they're doing. So a lot of these things that you hear in the conspiracy circles and all that, I'm not saying that it's not true, but their greatest power is to put you in fear because they don't have any power. We have the co-creative power. The only way, you know, they can get us out of that is if they trick our mind into like feeling that we're these powerful beings and we let that affect our vibration and we drop, right? The other thing is that these powers that they feed off this energy fear, right? So they generate that and they like to test us. One thing that they do is like, now they're gonna know. Everybody that turned their phone and their devices off, so they have a good idea. Like they create the conspiracy themselves and get it out there and a bunch of people run with it. And now they go measure today. Like, hey, when we run our little fear trigger, how many people are actually falling for it? Right? So they get an idea for when they really need it, like things going on in Israel and whatever now, you know, they want to distract us or they want to co-opt our consciousness into creating that which we do not want for the world. And one of the things I want to show you, and many of you are probably familiar with this, let me share it on the screen, which is Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. Can we see it, Patter?
Yep, screen share's up.
Yeah, so for those of you that are not familiar with this, Dr. Hawkins went through this whole process in his studies of basically creating a logarithmic scale of where we're at, how powerful a certain state of consciousness is. Now, know that this is a logarithmic scale. And so real quickly, like anything below 200, any of those states, pride, anger, desire, fear, grief, they mark really low on this scale. What does this mean? For lack of a better term, they have a detrimental effect on our planet, whether it's a person, whether it's a thought, whether it's an object, whether it's a concept. When they're rated at these lower levels, we're basically sucking the life force like out of the planet. We have a detrimental effect. Right around that 200 level is where that flips to where from neutral, it goes into a positive effect. But it's not linear, and that's what I want to share with you. And I'll give you an example. What he actually came to understand and what he measured was, if you're in this love, in this true love, and you're really embodying love, and you're at this level 500, one person cancels out 750,000 people that are in a state below 200, in a state of fear. I mean, grasp your head, or like, I mean, you know, get your heart around that. One person in the consciousness cancels out 750,000 people that are in a lower vibration. Now, if you go up this scale, for example, at peace, right, at a level of 600, one person cancels out 10 million people below 200 at this lower state of consciousness. And then if you look at the sages, you know, 700 or above, or the Buddha, you know, he estimated like one person cancels out 70 million people that are at these lower states. So I always say, like, I think at like really desperate times, our reality, our consciousness being held together with people we might not even know about somewhere in Tibet or who knows where, that are actually holding the consciousness stable while a lot of people go into fear. And I think that is so important now. So I want to share that with you because I really want you to grasp how powerful you are. And when you get into this state, I want you to know how much you offset what is going on in the collective. And that is what's really important right now, because, you know, they're desperate and they're going to get us more and more. They're going to want to put us in fear, you know, in apathy, in guilt, like in these lower states. It's up to all of us to offset that and come into our heart. And we have a beautiful tool. You know, we have beautiful beings with the cosmic tower, with that grid that really help us, and our training wheels in the sense of doing that, and a constant invitation for us to step up in this higher vibration. So all of you in the caller, I applaud you for being here and like really helping us anchor and create a world that we want, and not be stuck in that old paradigm, because our mind buys into the fear and our vibration drops. So Marcia.
Isn't that in his book? Is it verse versus power?
Yeah,
Force,
that's where it is.
Power.
Yeah, anything below 200, he considers force, right? Forcing things to happen through the mind or whatever. And once you go above, it is what he calls power. I call it more of a flow of being aligned with our higher self and with nature.
Beautiful. Thanks for rolling
Awesome.
that out, Nico. Yeah, you guys feel really like open and connected while this conversation is going on, but I just want to make room to see if anybody has any questions or comments on it before we move into more heart-centered cosmic tower interaction. Anybody want to say anything before we close this topic up?
I just want to say I need to go right now, but I'm glad that I attended, and I'm new and I plan on coming back. So
That's great. Well, we look forward to seeing you, and thanks for showing up and engaging. And I think Jen's been chatting with you, so she'll get you information about what we're up to as a community, and we'd love to see you again.
great. Thank you so much. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
Anne.
Hi there. I just wanted to make a comment about the numbers that you were talking about, Nico, and I found that fascinating. And I have one more number, which is 0.001% is the number of people on the planet that need to be enlightened in order for there to be a shift in consciousness for everyone to move out, everyone to move out of fear, anger, whatever.
Amazing. Yes, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And it really changes our paradigm when we start really feeling that and thinking in that way, because I forget the exact number, but the same is like for revolutions, all big revolutions. I think it was really only 3% of the people, right, that power that. We always have this feeling, because we do math and we come from the mind, we got to get at least 50% of the people on board. Right, because if you look at the universe and you call it light and dark, light has a big advantage over dark. It is that way, right, to where it always pulls itself back out, and we don't get out of the spiral, you know, where the whole universe destructs itself, for example, right? So for us, it's really important to become aware of these powers and know that each and every one of us has that seat within us, and that's the most powerful thing you can do, is to climb on that scale within your vibration. So thank you, Anne, for sharing.
Actually, that's only 80,000 people on the planet. That's
Yep.
what 0.01% is. So it's doable.
Absolutely. It's happening. Thank you. All right. So let's have some fun with our towers, and know that I'm going to share a lot of different things with you. And for those that are new, you don't have to do all these things. Pick and choose what works for you. You create your own way of doing it that feels good with you. I'm just giving you examples of doing it and in ways that you can interact with your tower. So what we did in the last call was really to make that connection, to get in that higher vibration that the tower is at, and immediately recognizes, and knowing that with just setting our intent, then that the connection happens. Also getting used to that communicating with the tower is not this mental thing, but it happens through feelings. And as we connect more and we pay attention to our feelings, we start to have the ability to basically decipher the communication. Right? It's like when you're working with an animal, I do not believe that they like mentally respond so much to the commands, but it's more about the feeling we put into it. Like the words are more needed for us to generate that feeling to where we communicate with another living being. So what I would like you to do today, and for this first process, I really want you to think of something that you want to ask from your cosmic tower, what you want help with. All right. And I'm going to give you a little technique. We always talk about how manifestation, or what you want to call it, it's not about the visualization. It's not about we say. It's not about the mental processes. The mental processes are only to bring us to the underlying feeling, the feeling of being that we would be at when we have this thing or whatever it is. That is what is important. That is the carrier wave. So I'm just going to give you a very simple process to where you can precisely discover what that underlying carrier wave, what that underlying feeling is. So think about what it is that you want from your tower. And then I want you to ask your mind, what's important about having this? And then notice to the answer that comes to you. Right? And then you do it again with this new thing. What's important about that? And you keep repeating this. Another question you can ask is, what will having or being this do for you? And you will get to a point, and maybe Patter and we can run through an example of this when I set the explanation. You will come to a point where the answer is going to be, well, it will make me feel this. or I will feel this way, peaceful, grateful, joyful, loving, whatever it is, that is your carrier wave for that particular thing. And bringing yourself into that state, into that feeling, is much more precise than what they say. Oh, you just got to be in a state of gratitude to manifest, or in a loving state. I find it much more powerful if you really discover the underlying feeling of that goal, of what you want to manifest. Because guess what? Everything human beings want or don't want is connected to a feeling. Feelings are what drives us. It's either a feeling we want more of in our life, or a feeling we want less of in our lives. So let's just do an example pattern. I'm just like volunteering you. If you're okay with that.
I am. I don't know how it's going to go. It might be a little messy, but it'll be raw and authentic.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. Looking
yeah.
forward to that.
Yeah. So what I really want is, I really want to live consistently and truthfully as a heart-centered being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's important to you about that?
Well, this is where it gets messy, because I figured you're gonna be asking me that question. And the first thing that
Don't
comes
be so
up,
much in your head about it. Go with your first impression.
well, that's why it's messy. And so, like, the first level of answering that is because I want people's approval.
Mm-hmm. And having people's approval, what would that do for you?
It would validate the path. I'm interested in, like, I'm not interested in, like, discovering by myself or thinking I'm important. I'm interested in co-creation.
Mm-hmm. So what's important to have your path validated by outside people? What's important to that about that for you?
Well, I mean, that question feels like it goes toward more of an egoic concern. Like, it feels like I'm just gonna loop in my head here for a minute. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, what I really want to do is, like, unpeel the real me, like
Really you?
the really deep me. Like, that's what I want to unpeel. And part of where I get hung up on that is in thinking I want the approval of others, or thinking that's going to come from other people rather than from within. But I really, like, for myself, want to unfold the truth of who and what I am.
Mm-hmm. Truth of who you are. So put your hand on your heart and push your heart against your hand.
Good
Because I
idea.
heard a lot of thinking in there. So if you ask your heart, what's important to be the truth of what I am, what would that do for me? What's the first thing that comes to you?
Well, it's a manifestation of God's purpose for my existence. It's like the most important thing.
Mm-hmm. Manifestation, God purpose. Imagine if you would have that. How would that make you feel?
I don't even know if I can, like, name that feeling. It's, like, so deep. Like, every once in a while I get a little taste of it and I cry. It's so deep and fulfilling.
Deep and fulfilling. Mm-hmm.
It's so I've had these moments of, like, tasting integrity at a level that just made me cry. I'm like, wow, God put that in me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then when those moments of when you cry, how does that make you feel?
There's like so much warm energy to that feeling. I don't know how to name it. It's like a surge. It's like, if on a scale of 1 to 100 and orgasms at 2, this is like 103. It's like, it's so full and rich.
Pulling rich. Yeah, so you have the feeling, and this is a prime example. Like there was a lot of in the head going on and thinking about it, but I could feel you were feeling a part of that. And to all of you, if you cannot name a feeling, that's okay. It's a question of, can you tune into that feeling, which you always can, right? So for you, better in this scenario, a good thing is to go back to a time of when you experienced that, get all your senses involved, and to generate that feeling. And then we're gonna like amplify that. So for all of you, to thank you going through that. And it's a good example. When it gets messy, right, you can hear your mind like chatter, and there's a lot of heaviness. It's like, I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that, right? So go with that first impression. You ask yourself that question, let your heart speak, and go with that feeling. And that's the feeling you want to have here, for what it is that you would want to ask for your cosmic power. So yeah, let's get into that. If everybody has a thing that they would want, and they would want for their cosmic power, ask the questions. Why is that important? What would it do for me if I had this? And you'll come to a point where you say, it would make me feel this. In Patter's case, it was like, I've had experience about this and I cannot describe the feeling, but clearly he knows what it feels like, right? And can get himself back into that.
Yeah, I think if I was going to try to put a word around it right now, it would be awe. And
Awe.
yeah, and when I
Mm.
say just the awe, like it like points in the direction of it, but it's so deep that it's even beyond that. I wonder if anybody else wants to volunteer to go through the exercise with you, because I think it might be valuable. Does anybody else want to play?
Jordan. Mhm. You can unmute yourself, or I can ask you to unmute.
She already did.
Oh, there you go.
There she is.
So what would you like? What would you like to ask from your cosmic power? What you want to have, really?
I just asked it about uh, opening up the pathways to knowledge for the energy that it powers it, for me to find out how to generate electrical power through that same principle.
Okay, so let's imagine that you've been able to generate the electric power to that same principle by opening up those energies. What will having that do for you?
It will it will give me a sense of security that nobody can cut off the electrical power, that that my ability to do what I want to do, it'll continue regardless of what the electric company is doing, what the supply chain is doing. And it's that literally I'll be the source of the electrical power.
Nice. So imagine if you were the source of the electrical power, what would that do for you?
That would free first, that would free up a lot of my I'd say my money, or at least mentally, and open up my my perspective of how say according to what you said, give me a confidence of that I can discover the the principles, the real principles behind how the universe works.
And how would that make you feel?
I just felt triumph at the idea that, oh, I've got it. The first let's call it device that I get to work.
The triumph. Yes.
And before that, when I did the exercise like on my own while you were working with Patter, then I felt a sense of security.
Yeah, that's what I heard come up, right? So for you, it can be, what does it feel like to feel completely safe? Right? You think back about a time that you felt like so safe, right? And that is like that feeling. But I also heard like freedom come up. Like those are all good. These are all triumph. These are all things that are tied for you to accomplishing that. So that's like your carrier way for that. And also know that these things might change with your goals as you evolve more, the feelings underneath it change. So thank you for sharing that, Jordan. So you can go with any one of those. So yeah, let's do it as a group. So I want you to really like tune into that feeling, like you have a question from your tower, something that you really want to manifest, and I want you to just imagine when you have manifested that, what might that feel like? And I really want you to allow yourself to go into that feeling. And the easiest way to go into the feeling, whatever it is for you, for me, for example, this thing I'm thinking about would really make me peaceful. So think back of a time when you, in my case, felt really peaceful, whatever the feeling is for you. If you say, I've never felt peaceful in my life, what might it feel like? And I really want you to tune in to either that memory or what it might feel like. And I want you to notice that when you think about that time and you really felt that, I want you to see what you saw, like, and hear what you would hear, smell and taste what you might smell and taste. And then notice that there is a place within your body where that amazing feeling that you're after, that amazing feeling that you felt, where it starts, where it spreads from. And just allow your hand to go where that is for you, touching that place in your body that's the anchor point for that particular vibration in this realm. And just notice when you look with your inner eyes at that place in your body where you feel this amazing feeling spread from, where you feel it start. And I want you to notice that as you look there, that there's a color or even a series of colors connected to this feeling. Simply go with your first expression. And then imagine a big, bright ball, like a sun, of that color, of those colors, of that feeling hanging above you. And with every breath you take, with every beat of your heart, this ball, this bright sun of those colors just starts growing bigger and bigger. It starts filling up the room from wall to wall, floor to ceiling, completely surrounding you in this amazing glow of those colors, of that color, of this amazing feeling. And it just keeps getting stronger and stronger with every breath you take, with every beat of your heart. And then notice as you're completely surrounded in a warm, in a beautiful blanket of that feeling, of that color, of those colors, that with every breath you take, every beat of your heart, it just starts floating into your body. Like hot water, like helium fills up a balloon, it starts filling up your body. Every cell in your body is getting filled with that amazing, with those amazing colors, with that feeling. There's nothing you need to do to make it go faster, make it go better. Just relax, just keep breathing and notice how with every breath, more and more of that feeling starts saturating your entire body. That's right. Keep breathing more and more of that energy into every place in your body. And sometimes you might feel a place where there's a little tension stored or maybe a little resistant. Just breathe more of that energy into that particular place and notice how, like hot water, warm water dissolves an ice cube, how it starts dissolving any tension, any contraction, any resistance within our body. You guys are doing great. Just allow that to take place. That's right. And it will come to a point where that feeling is so strong that nothing outside of you can turn it off or make it go away, not even you. And when you know it's that strong, try to turn it off and then notice what happens instead. Some people don't want to get rid of it. Some people know they get stronger when they try to turn it off, or they simply can't turn it off. That's right. And from this place, I just want you to connect with your tower, set that intention to connect with it, and then ask for what it is that you want from this place, from feeling this way, and just tell your cosmic power what it is that you want. You can do this verbally, you can do this in your mind, you can visualize what that would be like. It all works. You can do all of that. And then just send it to the tower. That's right. And then simply release it and trust that that's being taken care of. That's right. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you can just open your eyes again and simply notice how different you feel. Right. I love it when we do this because you can feel the shift of the vibration, like in the room. Everything gets softer, getting out of our head, getting
Oh.
into the
Yeah, so peaceful and quiet.
So this is a simple example that you can use for any type of manifestation, which is dig a little deeper, right? And ask yourself questions. What's important about that? What would having that do for you? Go with that first impression. Keep digging till you find that feeling. That's your carrier wave for that manifestation. That is the vibrational level at which this can happen for you. You can have anything that you want, but you first have to be the person that can happen to. The person that can happen to is the person, in your case, that lives at that vibration. We live in a vibrational universe. We manifest things through feelings. The sum total of our feelings, that conscious and unconscious, right? That determines our vibrational signature. Our vibrational signature then determines what we can attract in our life. Okay? Beautiful. So there's a few things I wanna add to that. If you're gonna say something like out loud, sorry, make sure that you're always stating it like in a positive way. What I mean with that is that the mind doesn't process no's very well, right? And so if you say, I no longer want to feel this, you first have to create this so your mind can process it. So it's like when I say try not to think of a pink elephant. Your mind first has to think of the pink elephant because it cannot process that no. So make sure when you state it and when you state it out loud that it's in a positive sense. Right? If you say, I no longer want to be anxious, I don't want to be anxious. Okay, if you're not anxious, what would you be? Oh, I would be peaceful. So rephrase it. I want to be peaceful. I want to be at ease, right? That is important. And I will always like to add to it is just, when there are more specific things for the highest good of all, right? And for the highest good of all beings. Granted that within the towers, that how should I say, that protection is like built in there to where it will always check with the higher self, but it helps. Okay, so that was like the first one.
Richard's got his hand up.
Yep. Hey, Richard.
So question I have is, should you say it in the present? Like, not that I want to be strong or I want to be calm. I am calm. I am at peace.
Yeah, I think in the present, or like in present, like progressive, like every day I'm getting calmer and calmer, right?
Somewhere I read that if it's an affirmation, you have to state it as though it's already there, not as though something you want, right?
Yes. Now,
I am.
I did a class on this in Lavanya. I think it was the last one, which really was about building the affirmations and
Right.
how you do that. The real thing you got to watch out for, if you say, I am calm, but your unconscious mind does not believe that, all you're doing is creating this tug of war and you throw more energy into it, right? But if a part of you doesn't believe it, then it's not really beneficial. So that's oftentimes why the present progressive term is safer in a way, if you cannot uncover what you unconsciously really believe, that your unconscious mind is more ready to accept it, because like, yeah, I am getting calmer. I'm not quite there yet,
Right.
but yes, I am progressing that way.
So what if you're trying to visualize yourself as being calm? You're stressed, but you're creating the visual image in your mind of seeing yourself as being calm, and you're saying to yourself, I am calm. And you're seeing yourself as being calm, even though you're in the midst of that stress. You're trying to see yourself as being that which you wish to be.
Yeah, so basically the way that works is what I like to do, and I taught this in another class, is like, here's what you can do. You can say, every day I'm feeling calmer because, and you go with that first impression that comes up. And when you say that, that reason comes from your unconscious mind. What the unconscious mind, what our neurology creates, our neurology supports. It can never fight itself. So when you're doing that, a good technique is, every day I'm getting calmer and calmer because. Go with that first impression. Every day I'm getting calmer and calmer because. Go with that first impression. Because if you make a definitive statement, I am calm, your mind is going to hone in on unconscious reasons why you're not fully there yet. While if you say, every day I'm getting calmer and calmer because, and you go with that first impression that bubbles up from your unconscious mind, it's going to look for all the ways you are getting calmer.
Right. So you're, in that case, you're presenting the evidence. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes. Yes, and you'll feel that. I invite you after the call to do that, to play with it, whatever that is for you, and simply add because after it. Go with the first thing that pops in your mind. No matter how silly it is, it came from your unconscious mind. Say that out loud. Do 4 or 5 times the old way, and notice places of resistance. You have to really pay attention to the feeling, because you're like, oh, I am calm, and here there's some nervousness like coming up. That is how you really feel, because that's your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind communicates through feelings. So play with them, do 4 or 5 times the one way with a definitive statement, then do 4 or 5 times with the because and going with the first impression, and notice the difference.
Thank you.
So great question. Thank you. All right. So what I would like to dive into now is, when we're requesting healing or whatever it is, like for another person. What is really important is, you can ask that person like for permission. Me personally, I never want to judge what another person needs and then go force that on them. I don't want anybody to do that to me, and neither am I going to do it to another then, right? Because how do you know what that higher self of the person considers what that person needs at that time, right? So one of the ways I like doing it, when I really wish it for a person, I like to send it up to my higher self, to their higher self. Same thing as when sometimes you feel attacking is a big word, but you can pick up when somebody's mad at you and is projecting at you and chipping away at you. Like, some people send it back to that person. From my experience, that's not so bad, because the ego can just reject that. So what I like to do is like send it up to my higher self, to the higher self of the person, I'll let the higher self deal with it.
How do you verbalize that? How would you verbalize that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an intent that you said, but from my experience, that is much more powerful. Right. So are you asking me how would you verbalize
Yeah,
that?
how would you verbalize that the way you just said? This is the way I would do it. Now translate that into words for me. What are you saying to yourself to make that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just take an example. Like if you feel like somebody's projecting negative thoughts onto you, for example.
Well, let's say
Right?
I have a person that's got cancer that I want to send healing energy to. How do I
Yeah.
do that?
Okay. Well, I was getting into that. I was going to give you a little trick around that. So here's what I found to be really powerful. And I actually learned this from a guy named Bill Bankston, who has probably the most scientifically validated and researched energy healing, because he wanted to disprove it. And he started healing all these mice from terminal cancer, and he wouldn't believe it that it would happen, right? And what I learned from him that I found really beneficial, the problem is, if you focus on a person healing and you make that your image, that person needs to be sick at some level to keep having that experience of healing, right? So you create this vicious loop. What Bill suggests, and what I personally found is much more powerful too, is to just envision or to visualize that person doing something they can do now. And I'll give you a simple example. Like somebody has a really bum knee, and because of that, they really like to ski or to play tennis or whatever, and they can't do that right now. What I like to do is really visualize them playing tennis and having fun with that, or skiing down a mountain. Why? It presupposes that the healing has already taken place. Right? So create for you, particularly Richard, and for the person you want to send that to, is like, what do you know that they really like to do and they just can't do right now, right? Because they're having this, and really feel that strongly and how that would feel, because then you're not forcing how this needs to happen or how this needs to take place. You are just focused on the vibrational signature of the end result, meaning that what underlies it gets taken care of in whatever way possible. Not for us to decide that has its own synchronicity. So I hope that answers your question.
I like that. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so yeah, let's do that. Let's just take an example of somebody, someone, something that we want healing for, right? It can also be an animal or whatever it is. It can be a person, and I want you to ask yourself, what is it that this person or maybe this animal like cannot like do right now that is like really important and makes it feel good? And just allow your mind to create that image, right? And just see him doing this thing, right? And you're tuning into probably somebody or that you love. And I just want you to really vivify that image. I want you to see them doing what they can do right now. I want you to hear their excitement. I might even be smell and taste, eating some foods that they can do now. I really want you to feel what that would be like for you, right? To just see that, yes, it worked. Look how happy they are. And then notice that that's making you feel a certain way too. Right? And then hone into how that makes you feel, where you feel that in your body. And then tune in and notice that there's a color, a series of colors connected to that. You know the drill. You can also do this another way around. With every breath you take, every beat of your heart from that place, this ball of energy starts growing bigger and bigger, starts filling up every cell in your body with that amazing feeling. That's right. And just notice every breath you take, every beat of your heart, that color, those colors just become more intense, more powerful. This ball gets bigger and bigger till it's outside of your body. Just allow it to expand to where your entire body, your mental, your emotional body are all being infused with that beautiful color. These beautiful colors. That's right. And it will come to a point where that feeling, where that color is so strong, nothing outside of you can turn it on. Right. And then you can just, in this case, even without saying out loud, you can transfer that image on that feeling to your cosmic tower, or you can request for that person, to be in that state. And you can add to that if you're saying out loud, if it's, within accordance of their higher self. Right. And then just let it go. Right. When you feel it's complete, just let it go. And one thing I want you to know, they do not have to be within the range of your particular tower. What you can envision is all the cosmic towers connected through all these strands of light, like a beautiful spider web. And as you do this, as you tune into this, just notice them lighting up. And then just see your tower putting that wish in the network. So with whichever tower that is close to that person, to whoever you want this to go to, simply connecting with that person and sending whatever energy that is needed for that person, for this animal, for this place, going to that place. That's right. That's one way. Another way I've learned from a guy in Germany is he would take a picture of the person and put it on top of his tower and then set that intent for that person and then release it. And what he would say is, like, usually in 1 or 2 days, I would get a call. Hey, what did you do? I'm feeling so much better. Right? So know that you're not limited by time or space, right? And you can utilize the network. Also know that as you're generating all these amazing feelings, whatever they are, guess what? They're traveling from your source through your body. So you're being helped too. And you're raising your vibration too. That's the beauty of it, right? That's why I never recommend, sending negative feelings to another person or getting angry at another person or whatever. I mean, it's human. We all do it. It happens to me too. But also notice that you're poisoning every cell in your body as this need to travel out, right? So whatever poison you send to another, guess what? You're ingesting it first and more powerful, probably. Awesome. Now, what might happen with a lot of you too, as you start doing this a lot more, you're just going to be guided. You're just going to develop your own way, right? For a lot of people, they want exact instructions and whatever. I'm telling you, if your feeling is good and you connect from that place and it's a high vibrational feeling, don't let your mind be like, am I doing this right? Am I like this or whatever? Trust that feeling. Know that that's your vibrational signature that you've just raised, and you're just not helping that particular person or yourself. You're rippling this through the entire light grid. You're rippling this through the entire cosmic tower grid. We're rippling through the entire reality. You're helping people that you might not even be aware of that you're helping. And then think back about the scale of consciousness that we talked about in the beginning. How much apathy, grief, sadness, depression are you offsetting just by being a beacon of light, and then you're just becoming a walking cosmic tower yourself, sending those loving vibrations out anywhere we go. And 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 in that realm. 1 + 1 is way more than 2 when it comes to power. And I believe that's the way we change the world, by carrying that vibration and spreading that everywhere. And you'll be a blessing to every living organism around you, including Mother Earth. So thank you for participating in that. Karen, did you have a comment or a question?
Oh, you just made me very aware. I've been coughing for 2 weeks, and I had a very severe flu where I was like completely depleted, and all that was going through my mind were these negative people. I was like crossing people out of my life. I'm eliminating these, that, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not whatever. So that's all in negative space, right?
Yep.
I tried all my tools and everything else, lasers, everything, eating well, vitamin C, to try to get over this cough. And I can't seem to get over this cough. So am I just stuck in this, like, I'm not thinking so negatively about these people, but I'm more cautious, about giving my energy away, right?
Yeah.
But maybe I shouldn't even be concerned about that at all. So
you shouldn't, because it's called the law of correspondence, and it's very important spiritual law, meaning that everything you tune into, you experience the vibration of. That's why all these people that are going ballistic about 5G towers, every time they see one and they tune in, they get a good extra dose of it. Cannot tune into or align or entangle with something and not be affected by it. So, Karen, for you, in this case, what I would do, keep raising your vibration and you'll vibe them out. Do not pay attention to that. They'll vibe out of your reality because they're no longer a signature match for your reality. So holding yourself at that vibration will vibe people out that cannot meet you there. And it will bring new people in that support you in your new reality, in your new vibrational signature, and allow you to keep stepping up. Right. Also, we are in the 5 elements. We're in the metal element. We are, which affects the lungs, and it's often tied to grief. Right. So grief is the emotion that will be coming up now. That's why I don't know what they call it in English. I know it in Dutch, but like, is it All Saints or whatever? Where you, what is coming up here in this period? I'm not too familiar with the religious concept.
Halloween, you mean? All Saints Eve? Halloween, All Saints Eve?
No, I'm like talking about in Belgium around this time, like in November, we go to the graves of people that have passed on, have passed on, and we put flowers there or whatever. I don't know if there's a similar thing here in the United States, but I believe that is in this period because we're in the metal element, which affects our lungs and our large intestine, and the emotion tied to it is grief when that's not balanced. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So, you guys all did amazing. I can feel it, all right, and I can see it in many of your faces, and I can feel it. So, one of the things I would really like to do now is for us to really light up the Cosmic Tower Network. And I just want you to think about something, what you want for the world, whether it is for humanity, whether it is for the planet, for all living beings on this planet. So I want you to really tune into that. And whether you want to help nature, you want to restore the energy grid, it doesn't matter. Go in your own personal way, and then do the same thing we've done before. Imagine what it would be like to live in a world where whatever your wish is has been manifested. How would that make you feel? Right? And then really, you can ask more questions if you need more mental. What's important to you? What would that do for you? You get the drift now. Go with that first impression. Set your intention of what you want for the planet, for humanity, for all living beings on Earth and beyond. And then notice what that might feel like, seeing it, a world where this has been manifested. Then notice when you see that, when you hear that, when you smell and taste that, might be smelling clean air. Notice when you put yourself there, when you tune in there with your senses, that there's this amazing feeling that starts to develop within your body. And just allow your hand to go where you feel that in your body. And then notice that there's a color or a series of colors attached to this particular feeling. Go with your first impression. That's right. And then imagine a big ball, bright like the sun, with that color, with those colors hanging above your head. And with every breath you take, with every beat of your heart, those colors get brighter and brighter. That ball gets brighter and brighter like the sun. It gets bigger and bigger. And it starts filling up the entire space around you, wall to wall, floor to ceiling, putting you in a cocoon of those amazing colors, of that amazing color, that amazing feeling. And then notice how with every breath you take, every beat of your heart, more and more of those amazing colors starts floating into your body. That's right, saturating your body with those beautiful bright colors, with that amazing feeling. Nothing for you to do to make it go faster, to make it go brighter. It just naturally happens with every breath you take, with every beat of your heart. That's right. Feel every cell in your body getting saturated with that beautiful, with those beautiful colors. That's right. Notice how your bloodstream is just pumping those beautiful colors all the way through your body until those colors, until that feeling gets so strong that nothing outside of you can turn it off, not even you. When you know it's that strong, just test and try to turn it off and notice what happens instead. That's right. And with this feeling being fully anchored, just connect with your tower, just set that intent. And then visualize, send the image, say it out loud, what you would like for the world, for the highest good of all. You can add that to it. And then just see it being uploaded in your tower. And from your tower is going in this beautiful network of all the towers connected, like strands of light, like a spider web, just like lighting up. And as each of us adds our own feelings, our own colors, look how it exponentially becomes more brighter. See it being spread all throughout the world through the Cosmic Tower Network. And know that your prayer, your wish, your visualization has been received. And the Cosmic Tower has been given full permission in accordance with what's in the highest good of all to go to work and do that. And when you know it's complete, you can simply open your eyes, come back to this space, and notice how good you feel. Beautiful. And emotions can come up, and that's good. You know? That's amazing. I got a fly. I can't stay away from it. It's like, ooh, everything's buzzing over here. So yeah, I invite you to just do that. You know, when you feel called to do it in the morning, do it at night when you go to sleep. When you do this at night, right before you go to sleep, guess which vibration keeps getting generated all night long? Right? People that are warriors, If you do that while you're laying in bed, guess what your unconscious mind goes to work on for 8 hours or however long you sleep. The opposite is also true. When you tune into these things that you really want and you make it powerful, your unconscious mind is working the entire time when you are sleeping to make this come true. It's also a beautiful way of starting your morning, right? Sometimes we wake up and, oh, there it is again, this or that. Take some time to clear it. Set the intention, set the energy, set the vibrational signature that you want to hold all day long, and do it together with your tower, right? And then see how quickly your life shifts and how you feel. So yeah, thank you everybody for participating. And I want you to know, during these times where they're fear-mongering, try to pump more fear into the system, try to co-opt our consciousness in creating what we really do not want. This is where our power lies, especially if we have such beautiful beings supporting us with that. And that's like my intention for everybody, to really, you know, keep reminding yourself about that. And for some of you that are new to this, you might be like, I didn't feel it like very strongly or whatever. Hey, the first time you jumped on that bike or tried to walk, you didn't do a marathon. You know, it took you a little time, but everybody can do it, right? You just have to stick with it, and you'll notice that these feelings become stronger and stronger, and it will radically change your life, because you're sending out a different vibrational signature into the world around you, which will have many effects. One of them is that these synchronicities, these things that are aligned with these higher vibrations, are starting to show up in your life. The other thing you will notice is that people are going to start treating you differently because you've changed. And whether you know it or not, people always treat you how you unconsciously feel about yourself. Whether, you know, most people don't even know they do that, but they reflect that back, right? So take note of the changes in your life as you're doing this more often, and you anchor these feelings more deeply, because your mind, you know, might always try to talk you out of it. So it's good to kind of take note of it and not take it for granted, and be grateful for all those changes, so you keep compounding it like interest, right? Thank you so much for participating. Yeah, I'm open, you know, to share any of your experience, any questions, anything with the Cosmic Tower. Feel free. Oh, thank you, Kirk. Like, yeah, all your cells do start vibrating at that level. And you'll start to embody this. Like when you do it a lot, you can switch it on almost on command. And that's really a gift for any situation that you walk into. It's one of my favorite things to do, to walk into a place where everybody's kind of stuck up or whatever, or they're not such a good mood. No, don't even interact with it, but just generating, start filling the space just with those feelings. It's amazing how people shift. Zane, did you want to share something? Okay. Anybody has any questions, anything? Yes, Zane, you're unmuted already.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say, as you were describing this process, it kind of parallels what I'm working on, and that is realizing we have choice.
Yes.
And despite whatever's going on, freedom issues and all, we still have choice, and that kind of removes me the subconscious tendency to be a victim.
Yes.
And so I call them choice points, and I'll name it. And I'm at the choice point right now, which way I'm going to go. And that's been real helpful in my process.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. And I'll add a little bit to that. Whenever you're looking at the outer world, you're looking at the past. You are looking at the sum total of our previous thoughts and feelings, and you're being offered a choice point. saying like, yeah, I see what we've created based on all our past feelings, beliefs, thoughts, etc., but I'm consciously choosing something different now. And that is part of what we need to learn as powerful co-creative beings, to not have the past, be our guideline for this is how it is, right? When you're looking outside, you're looking at the past, just seeing like, hey, this is what you've created with all your thoughts, with all your feelings. Is that what you really want? Then just continue, right? And typically what people then do is like, yeah, but it's still this and that, and then they feel that way, so they're reinforcing that vibration and never get a change, whether it's personal or collective. What I invite you to do is to look at the past and then say like, okay, I want to change this or that. Then dig into that feeling that would give you, and by an act of choice, consciously generate that feeling, and you start rewriting your future. Okay? So thank you, Zane. Richard.
So I had a kind of a very interesting experience today. I was in the market for a phone, and I called the Verizon people, and I got this guy on the phone. He's Indian. And his first comment to me was, he says, you're not going to be able to understand me because I'm Indian. And I kind of laughed, and I said, yeah, you're probably right. I'm an old man. I don't hear well. And you speak with a heavy accent. But I said, let's have a good time with it. And he says, really? I said, yeah, we're gonna have a good time with this. Somehow we're gonna figure this out and have a good time with it. And I heard him sigh very heavily 4 times. Okay. He says, so what is it you want to do? And I said, well, I'm having trouble with my phone. I think I need to replace the phone, but I want to go into a store. I don't want to do this online. I want to go into a store where I can feel the phone. And he says, well, this is going to be a problem. And I said to him, I said, well, okay. He says, I heard him really sigh a lot. I said, hey, I don't mean to be stressing you out, but I said, you've sighed 4 times in the last 30 seconds. He says, I apologize. He said, no, don't apologize to me. Let's figure out how we can unstress you, because you don't need to be going through this. I said, we got business we need to take care of, but we got to take care of you first. And you know what? We were on the phone for 40 minutes and we laughed our ass off. And when I got off the phone, he said to me, he goes, you're the best customer I ever had in my life. He says, I will never forget this conversation. And he says, I'm going to give you a $10 gift. And I go, why are you doing this? He says, because I can. I said, well, I don't really want or need that. He goes, are you refusing it? I said, no, I'm not refusing it, but I just wanted to get the phone. He goes, oh, you've given me so much. I said, well, you know what? I had a great time too. And I was dreading this phone call. But I said, this was a fantastic conversation. He goes, it was incredible. And I said, it all started out with your 4 sighs. I heard those 4 sighs. And I said, I need to help you out.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to tell you, I think, Nico, I think what's going on with me, the tower, and what else meditation I'm doing, I think it's raising my level. I'm becoming more tuned into other people, right?
Yep.
More sensitive to them. And it was an outstanding experience. Instead of being stressed out, I had a great time, and he told me, he goes, this is the best conversation this is the best customer intervention I've ever had in my life. I will never forget this. I go, who knew that I was going to have a conversation that's going to lead to this, right? Amazing. Just amazing.
That's amazing, Richard. Thank you for sharing. And I've actually managed call centers in India and all over the world. And I know what a stressful job that is. And a lot of us might get frustrated. It's like, welcome to Verizon. My name is John. How can I help you? You're like, yeah, your name's not John, right? Someone's like, can I get somebody American on the phone, or like whatever?
So his name is Abakish. Now you can imagine me trying to understand the name Abakish. I go, can we spell that for me? I'm really not going to be able to do this, okay? So he's going, A is in America, B is in Bob, A is in...
Beautiful, but an amazing example, right? The way we make change how other people feel,
yes, exactly.
is by changing how we feel. right? And we get so much more done when it's playful. What would be else like a stressful
Yeah.
experience when we get up in our head? So beautiful. And that's how you change the world, because you have no idea. That guy something might happen because of shifting his vibration where he's usually stuck, and beautiful things unfold in his life.
Well, I
So
heard those 4 signs within 30 seconds. This man
Yeah.
was stressed to the max. I was never going to get anything done with him at that rate. We needed to change it up. Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing. That's an
Yeah.
awesome example. All right. Mr. Patter.
Well, if you're coming to me, I guess it's time to wrap up. So thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Nico, for really delivering in this series. You know, you've really brought us to a place where we can feel a new access and a connection to our towers, and a new softness in life. A new, it gives me hope. So I'm really thankful for your leadership and mentorship in this, and I think you've done a great job. And you know, community, gosh, I mean, thank you for showing up and opening your heart. It's extraordinary to be with you. I'm really thankful that we're in this together, and you know, we're gonna have to go into the lab and create some new classes. And Nico was
I already have some in my head.
yeah, I was gonna say
In my
Nico
heart.
some inspiration last week, and I just wasn't ready to take it in yet. But yeah, there's more coming. So we'll keep chipping away at it. You guys keep chipping away at it, and we'll just keep creating a more loving world. So I think it's time to sign off. I'm gonna ask everybody to unmute. And you guys are welcome to hear each other's voices and share your voice and say goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank
being
you.
here, guys.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.